The main diplomatic chamber of Kepler Station had been built to accommodate all known species in the galaxy. The ceiling was high enough for the tall windsingers, and the floor had special pools for the aquatic deep swimmers. The chairs could adjust to fit creatures with different body shapes and sizes. But when Ambassador Ji-won walked into the room, everyone realized they had never planned for humans. She was huge. Not just tall, but built like a creature that could hunt and kill. Her shoulders were broad, her arms looked strong, and when she smiled, her teeth were clearly designed for eating meat. The aliens in the room stepped back without meaning to. "Good morning," Ji-won said in perfect galactic standard, bowing politely. "I am Ambassador Ji-won of Earth. Thank you for welcoming us to your station." Behind her walked 4 other humans. Dr. Hae-ri carried a translation device and various scientific instruments. Commander Tae-ho wore what was clearly a military uniform, though he had no visible weapons. 2 other humans carried cases that probably held gifts or documents. The aliens had chosen their best diplomats for this meeting. Veltar represented the military races. Nixara spoke for the trade guilds, and Keth was there as an elder voice of wisdom. Station Commander Bilask would lead the discussions. "Welcome to Kepler Station," Bilask said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Please take a seat wherever you're comfortable." The humans looked around the room and smiled. The chairs were too small for them. G1 picked up one of the largest chairs and set it aside, then simply sat on the floor in a cross-legged position. The other humans did the same. "This is much better," G1 said cheerfully. "Your station is beautiful, by the way. The architecture is very elegant." Dr. Hae-ri opened her case and pulled out several devices. "I hope you don't mind if I record our conversation for study purposes. We're very interested in learning about your cultures." "Of course," Bilask replied. "We're curious about your culture as well. Your ship is quite impressive." "The Eternal Dawn?" Ji-won looked pleased. "She's a good ship. Not our largest, but she's comfortable for long journeys." Silence fell over the room. Veltar leaned forward, his crystal body reflecting the room's lights. "Not your largest?" "Oh no," Commander Tae-ho said casually. "The Eternal Dawn is Titan class, which makes her one of our smaller deep space vessels. She's mainly used for diplomatic missions and scientific exploration." Nixara's blue skin had gone completely white. "Smaller vessels?" Dr. Hae-ri nodded enthusiastically. "The Titan-class ships are quite common in the human defense fleet. We have over 300 of them. They're good for patrol work and showing the flag in friendly systems." She pulled out a small hologram projector and activated it. The image that appeared in the center of the room made the aliens gasp. It showed the human fleet in formation around a massive space station. "This is our main shipyard at Luna," Dr. Hae-ri explained. "You can see several Titan-class ships here, along with some of our larger vessels." The hologram showed ships that dwarfed even the Eternal Dawn. Massive construction vessels that looked like flying cities. Cargo ships so large they had their own weather systems, and in the background, barely visible, were shapes that hurt the aliens' eyes to look at directly. "What are those?" Keth asked, pointing to the shadows in the background. "Those are God-class battleships," Commander Tae-ho said simply. "We don't like to talk about them too much. They're mainly used for asteroid mining and planetary defense." "Asteroid mining?" Veltar's voice was barely a whisper. "It's much easier than digging on planets," Dr. Hae-ri explained. "A single God-class ship can harvest an entire asteroid belt in a few months. Very efficient." Ambassador Ji-won could see that the aliens were having trouble processing this information. She decided to change the subject. "But enough about our ships. We're here to learn about you." The reports we received suggested that the Galactic Council represents hundreds of different species. 237, Bilask confirmed automatically, still staring at the hologram. "Wonderful." G1 clapped her hands together, making several aliens jump. "We're so excited to meet everyone. Humanity has always dreamed of joining a larger galactic community." "How many humans are there?" Nixara asked quietly. Dr. Hae-ri consulted a device on her wrist. "Current population is approximately 450 billion, spread across 47 star systems. Though those numbers change daily as we continue to expand." The room went completely silent. The largest alien civilization, the Crystalline Collective, had maybe 50 billion members across 12 worlds. The humans outnumbered all known galactic life combined. 47 systems? Keth managed to ask. 48 as of last month, Commander Tae-ho corrected. The colony ships reached the Kepler 442 system ahead of schedule. Ji-won opened her own case and pulled out what looked like a simple glass tablet. When she touched it, the surface lit up with moving images. "We brought some information about Earth and our colonies if you're interested." She placed the tablet on the floor where everyone could see it. The images showed Earth from space, a blue and green world covered in lights. Then the view pulled back to show massive structures in orbit around the planet. "Those are our orbital cities," Dr. Hayree explained. "About 60% of Earth's population lives in space now. Much more room to grow." The structures around Earth were enormous. Space elevators reached down to the planet's surface like silver threads. Spinning habitats housed millions of people, and surrounding everything was a growing shell of solar collectors. "We're about 30% finished with our Dyson sphere," Dr. Hayree mentioned casually. "It should be complete in another 50 years or so." Veltar made a choking sound. A Dyson sphere was theoretical technology that could capture all the energy from a star. Most species considered it impossible to build. "Is that why you came here?" Bilask asked. "Are you running out of resources?" Ji-won looked puzzled. "Running out? No, not at all. We came because we detected your radio signals 50 years ago, and have been learning your languages ever since. We wanted to say hello." Commander Tejo nodded. Earth Command decided it was time to make formal contact. "We've been watching your civilizations with interest, but we didn't want to interfere until we were invited." "You've been watching us?" Nixara asked nervously. "Just passively," Dr. Hayree assured her. "Listening to radio broadcasts, studying your languages, learning about your cultures. We have strict rules about not interfering with other species without permission." She touched her tablet again, and new images appeared. Star maps showing the locations of every major alien world. Detailed information about their governments and societies. Even recordings of their music and entertainment. "We find your civilizations fascinating," Dr. Hayree continued. "The diversity of life in the galaxy is amazing. We hope we can learn from each other." Keth floated closer to the tablet, studying the star maps. "These charts are more detailed than anything we have." "How did you gather this information?" "Long-range sensors mostly," Commander Tejo replied. "Our survey ships have been mapping this region of space for the past 20 years. We wanted to make sure we understood the local situation before making contact." "Survey ships?" Veltar asked. "Small, fast ships designed for exploration and intelligence gathering," the commander explained. "About the size of your fighters, but much faster. They can cross the galaxy in a few months." The aliens exchanged worried looks. Ships that could cross the galaxy in months would revolutionize everything they knew about space travel. Most alien ships took years just to travel between nearby systems. Ambassador Ji-won noticed their concern. "Please don't worry. We're not here to threaten anyone. Humanity believes in peaceful cooperation. We want to trade, share knowledge, and maybe help solve some of the galaxy's problems." "What kind of problems?" Bilask asked. Ji-won consulted her tablet. "Well, according to our observations, several species in this region are having resource shortages. The wind singers are running out of rare metals for their technology. The deep swimmers need more water worlds for their growing population. The builders haven't found new construction materials in decades." She looked up with a bright smile. "We could help with all of those issues. We have plenty of resources, and we've gotten very good at finding new worlds suitable for different species." Dr. Hayree nodded enthusiastically. "The colony ship that just reached Kepler 442 actually found 3 water worlds that would be perfect for the deep swimmers. We'd be happy to share the coordinates." "Just share them?" Nixara asked in disbelief. Information about new worlds was incredibly valuable. Wars had been fought over less. "Of course," Ji-won replied. "We have no use for water worlds ourselves. It would make us happy to know they were being used by people who would appreciate them." Commander Tejo's communication device beeped softly. He glanced at it and nodded to Ji-won. "Ma'am, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. What do they say?" "Phase 2 colonization has been approved. They want us to begin deep space infrastructure development as soon as we finish here." Ji-won smiled. "Excellent. We've been planning to build some support stations in this region anyway. It will make travel much easier for everyone." The alien stared at her in growing horror. Deep space infrastructure. Support stations. 3 days had passed since the humans arrived at Kepler Station. The news had spread across the galaxy like fire. Every government, every military force, every trade organization was demanding answers. How could a primitive species suddenly appear with ships that made everyone else look like children playing with toys? The Crystalline Defense Council was the first to demand proof. General Klixvan, the most decorated military leader in known space, arrived at Kepler Station with a full battle group. 12 warships, including the massive cruiser Crystal Spear, took position around the human vessel. "This has to be a trick," General Klixvan announced as he walked into the diplomatic chamber. His crystal body reflected the room's lights like a rainbow, but his expression was dark with suspicion. "No species develops this kind of technology in 50 years. It's impossible." Ambassador Jiwon listened politely as the general listed his complaints. The humans were probably using stolen technology. Maybe they were puppets for some unknown alien power. Perhaps their ship was just an empty shell designed to look impressive. "I understand your concerns," Jiwon said when he finished. "What would convince you that we're genuine?" "Proof," General Klixvan replied simply. "Show us what your ship can really do. If you're as advanced as you claim, it should be easy to demonstrate." Admiral Wu Jin, who had been quiet during the meeting, finally spoke up. "What kind of demonstration did you have in mind?" "Combat capability," the general said immediately. "My fleet will attack your ship with training weapons. If you're really as powerful as you claim, your defenses should be able to handle it easily." The humans looked at each other with worry. Commander Taeho shook his head. "Sir, that wouldn't be safe. Even our training weapons could seriously damage their ships." "Then use defensive systems only," General Klixvan suggested. "Let my fleet attack you and show us how you protect yourselves." Dr. Hayri pulled out her tablet and ran some quick calculations. "Admiral, if we use minimum power settings and adjust our shield frequency to avoid feedback, we might be able to do this safely." Admiral Wu Jin thought for a long moment. "Very well, but we'll need to move away from the station first. I don't want to risk damaging Kepler Station with our engine wash." 2 hours later, both fleets moved to open space. The alien ships spread out in attack formation, their weapons powered up and ready. The human ship sat alone in the center, looking calm and peaceful. Captain Soon-ho commanded the escort vessel Thunder's Edge, one of 12 human ships that had followed the Eternal Dawn to Kepler Station. Like the diplomatic ship, the Thunder's Edge was considered small by human standards, but it was still larger than most alien vessels. "All ships ready?" "Sir?" Captain Soon-ho reported to Admiral Wu Jin over the communication system. "Remember, minimum power only," the Admiral replied. "We want to show our capabilities without starting a war." General Klixvan watched from his command ship as his fleet prepared to attack. He had brought his best ships and most experienced crews. If the humans were really as powerful as they claimed, this would prove it. If they were frauds, this would expose them. "All ships begin attack," he ordered. The alien fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missile swarms, and plasma cannons all struck the human ships at once. The space between the fleets lit up like a small sun as weapons fired and shields flared. The human ships sat there and absorbed it all. "No effect, sir," reported his weapons officer. "Their shields aren't even flickering." General Klixvan stared at his screens in disbelief. His fleet was firing enough energy to destroy a small moon, and the human ships were acting like nothing was happening. "Increase power to maximum," he ordered. "Everything we have." The alien fleet switched from training mode to full combat power. Now they were using weapons that could crack planets. The energy reading spiked so high that the sensors on Kepler Station overloaded from the distance. The human ships continued to sit there calmly, their shields glowing softly blue. "Sir," came Captain Soon-ho's voice over the radio. "Are they finished? We're not detecting any damage to our hulls. Should we demonstrate our capabilities now?" Admiral Wu Jin nodded, even though the alien commander couldn't see him. "Very well, Captain. Show them what we can do, but be careful, remember they're fragile." "Understood, sir." Beginning construction demonstration. The Thunder's Edge opened its cargo bays and released thousands of small objects into space. At first they looked like metal insects floating in the void. Then they began to move with purpose, linking together and growing larger. "What are those things?" General Klixvan demanded. His science officer studied the readings. "They appear to be construction drones, sir. They're building something." Within minutes, the drones had created a small space station. It wasn't fancy, but it had living areas, docking bays, and its own power source. The entire construction process took less than an hour. "Impressive," General Klixvan admitted. "But we have construction drones too." Captain Soon-ho's voice came over the radio again, sounding almost apologetic. "Sir, requesting permission to begin mining operations. There's a small asteroid field nearby that would be perfect for raw materials. Approved, Admiral Wu Jin replied. But use the small equipment only. We don't want to alarm our guests. The Thunder's Edge moved toward a cluster of asteroids floating near the edge of the system. It deployed what the humans called mining equipment. To the aliens, it looked like a swarm of metal sharks attacking the rocks. In 30 minutes, the entire asteroid field was gone. Not mined, gone. Converted into neat stacks of processed metals, rare elements, and construction materials that were loaded into the human ship's cargo holds. General Klixvan's fleet watched in stunned silence. Mining an asteroid field usually took months and required specialized equipment. The humans had done it faster than most ships could. Travel between planets. Perhaps a combat demonstration would be more impressive, suggested Commander Teho from the Eternal Dawn. There's an old moon in this system that's not being used for anything. Before anyone could object, the Thunder's Edge turned toward a small dead moon orbiting a gas giant. A single weapon port opened on the ship's hull. Something small and bright shot out, moving faster than the alien sensors could track. The moon simply disappeared, not exploded, not cracked apart. It was there one moment and gone the next as if it had never existed at all. What did you do? General Klixvan whispered. Standard kinetic projectile, Captain Sunho replied casually. We fired a small piece of metal at 98% of light speed. The impact converted the entire moon into energy. Very clean, no radiation or debris. The alien crews stared at their screens, trying to process what they had just seen. The humans had destroyed a moon with what they called standard ammunition. Their smallest ship had just demonstrated more firepower than most civilizations possessed. In their entire military were... Sorry about the light show, Captain Sunho continued. We're running on minimal power to avoid damaging your ships with our engine wash. At full power, the weapon discharge might have been bright enough to temporarily blind your sensors. Dr. Hayree's voice joined the conversation from the diplomatic ship. Would you like to see our industrial capacity? We could build a small habitat for your crews to visit. It would only take a few hours. That won't be necessary, General Klixvan said quickly. The idea of the humans building anything else terrified him. Engineer Yuna from the Eternal Dawn spoke up cheerfully. Oh, we should show them the gravity manipulators. Or maybe the matter converters. We could turn some of this empty space into a nice park. Turn space into a park? Bilask asked weakly from Kepler Station. It's basic terraforming technology, Yuna explained. We take empty vacuum and add matter and energy until it becomes whatever we need. Planets, atmospheres, oceans, whatever you want. She paused thoughtfully. Although we haven't tried making a park in open space before, it might be an interesting experiment. Admiral Wu Jin quickly interrupted. Perhaps we should return to the station now. I think our guests have seen enough for one day. As the human ships began moving back toward Kepler Station, General Klixvan finally managed to speak again. How long have your people been able to do these things? Which things? Commander Teho asked. The shield technology is about 40 years old. The construction drones are newer, maybe 20 years. The kinetic weapons are ancient. We've been using those for almost a century. And the matter conversion? The gravity manipulation? Oh, those are recent breakthroughs, Dr. Hayree replied happily. We've only had those technologies for about 10 years. We're still finding new ways to use them. General Klixvan looked around his command bridge at his officers. They all had the same expression of shocked terror that he felt. In 10 years, the humans had developed technology that was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. What would they be capable of in another 10 years? As the fleets returned to Kepler Station, Admiral Wu Jin received a priority message from Earth Command. He read it quickly and nodded to himself. Commander Teho, he said, please inform our alien friends that Earth has approved Phase 2 of our expansion program. We'll be beginning deep space infrastructure construction within the month. What does Phase 2 involve, sir? Teho asked. Permanent bases, supply depots. The tour of the Eternal Dawn was supposed to last 2 hours. It had been going for 3 days, and they had barely seen 5% of the ship. Veltar floated beside Dr. Hayree as she led the group through what she called Residential District 7. Around them stretched a city that was larger than most alien homeworlds. The ceiling was so high above them that it had its own weather system, complete with clouds and a gentle rain that fell on the parks below. This district houses about 40,000 people, Dr. Hayree explained, as they walked along a tree-lined street, mostly families with children, so we have lots of schools and playgrounds. Nixara watched a group of human children playing in a nearby park. They looked normal enough except for the toys they were using. One child had built a small robot that was walking around and talking. Another was playing with what looked like a miniature spaceship that could actually fly. "Are those toys safe for children?" Nixara asked nervously. Dr. Hayrie glanced over and smiled. "Oh yes, those are just basic learning tools. Human children start working with simple robotics and engineering when they're about 6 years old. It helps them understand how things work." 6 years old? Keth asked in amazement. Most alien species didn't start learning advanced technology until they were adults. "Education is very important to humans," explained Captain Yunji, who ran the civilian sections of the ship. "By the time our children are 12, they usually understand basic physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. By 16, they're ready to specialize in whatever interests them most." The group stopped at a school where they could see through large windows. Inside, children who looked to be about 10 years old were working on projects that made the aliens' heads hurt to think about. One group was building what looked like a small fusion reactor. Another was programming artificial intelligence systems. "What are they learning?" Bilask asked weakly. "Today's lesson is energy conversion," Captain Yunji replied. "The students are competing to see who can build the most efficient power source using only basic materials. The winning team gets to help design the school's new playground equipment." Dr. Minsu, the ship's chief medical officer, joined their group as they continued walking. He was a cheerful man who seemed excited to meet the aliens. "I hope you don't mind me asking, but would any of you be interested in a basic medical scan? We're very curious about alien physiology." "What kind of scan?" Feltar asked cautiously. "Just basic life signs, cellular structure, genetic patterns, nothing invasive," Dr. Minsu assured him. "In return, I could show you some of our medical technology. We've recently developed some interesting treatments that might be useful for your species." Keth, being the oldest and most curious, agreed to the scan. Dr. Minsu pulled out a device that looked like a simple tablet and held it near the ancient alien for a few seconds. "Fascinating," Dr. Minsu exclaimed, studying the readings. "Your cellular regeneration rate is incredibly slow but very stable. I can see why your species lives so long. Although," he frowned at the screen, "it looks like you have some cellular damage that's been accumulating for centuries. Would you like me to fix that?" "Fix it?" Keth asked. Dr. Minsu nodded enthusiastically. "It would be simple. Just a few minutes with our cellular repair system. We could reverse about 1,000 years of aging and repair all the accumulated damage. You'd feel much better, and probably live several thousand years longer." The alien stared at him in shock. Cellular repair technology was theoretical at best. The idea that humans could casually reverse aging was beyond anything they had imagined. "You can do that for all species?" Nixara asked. "Oh yes," Dr. Minsu replied. "We've mapped the genetic patterns of over 2 million different life forms. Our medical systems can treat almost anything that lives. We've even learned how to resurrect people who died recently, as long as the brain damage isn't too severe." "Resurrect the dead?" Feltar whispered. "It's not really resurrection," Dr. Minsu explained. "We can repair cellular damage and restart biological functions within about 6 hours of death. After that, it becomes much more difficult. But for recent deaths, especially from injury or disease, it's usually not a problem." Chief Engineer Dongwu appeared beside them, looking excited. "Dr. Hayrie, we just received the construction schedules for the new Galaxy-class ships. Would you like to see the designs?" Dr. Hayrie nodded and pulled out her tablet. The hologram that appeared above it made the aliens step back in fear. It showed a ship so large that it had continents on its hull. Cities and forests and oceans all contained within a vessel that was the size of a small planet. "This is the New Horizon," Engineer Dongwu said proudly. "She'll be our first Galaxy-class exploration ship, designed for trips to other galaxies with a crew of about 50 million people." 50 million? Bilask choked out. "Well, it's really more like a mobile colony," Dr. Hayrie explained. "The trip to Andromeda will take about 2 years, so we need to bring everything we might need. Entire ecosystems, manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, cultural centers, everything needed to establish contact with whatever we find there." "But that's just the first ship," Engineer Dongwu added. "Earth Command has approved construction of 12 Galaxy-class vessels. They want to explore in every direction at once." The tour continued, but the aliens were no longer really seeing what was around them. They were too overwhelmed by the scale of human civilization. The Eternal Dawn wasn't just a ship. It was a floating piece of human society, complete with everything needed to support 50,000 people indefinitely. They saw manufacturing facilities that could build anything from children's toys to spacecraft components. They visited laboratories where scientists worked on projects that most alien civilizations would consider impossible. They walked through parks and theaters and museums that showcased the diversity of human culture. "How do you manage it all?" Keth finally asked. "How do you coordinate the activities of 50,000 people on one ship?" Captain Yunji smiled. "It's not really that different from managing a city, which humans have been doing for thousands of years. Everyone has their job, their responsibilities, their place in the community. The computer systems help with coordination, but mostly people just work together because they want to." "But what about conflicts? Disagreements, crime?" "Those happen, of course," Captain Yunji admitted, "but less often than you might think. When everyone has what they need and when everyone has meaningful work to do, most people are pretty happy. And when problems do arise, we have counselors and mediators to help solve them peacefully." Ambassador Ji-Wan rejoined the group as they visited the ship's main communication center. Here, humans were monitoring radio signals from across the galaxy, translating alien languages, and maintaining contact with Earth and the other human colonies. "We've been listening to your civilizations for decades," Ji-Wan explained. "Not to spy, but to learn. We wanted to understand your cultures before we made contact, so we wouldn't accidentally offend anyone or cause problems." The communication officer, a young woman named Su-Jin, looked up from her console. "Ambassador, we're receiving priority messages from 17 different alien governments. They all want to establish formal diplomatic relations immediately." "Already?" Ji-Wan asked, surprised. "News of our arrival has spread quickly," Su-Jin replied. "Several species are offering military alliances. Others want trade agreements. And 3 different civilizations have requested human protection from their traditional enemies." Ji-Wan frowned. "Protection? Why would they need protection?" Commander Teho, who had been quiet during most of the tour, finally spoke up. "Ma'am, I think they're worried about their neighbors. If humans can destroy moons with small weapons and build ships the size of planets, they want to make sure we're on their side." The aliens in the tour group looked at each other nervously. That was exactly what their governments had been discussing. Every civilization in the galaxy was suddenly reconsidering their military strategies and alliance structures. "But we're not here to take sides in alien conflicts," Ji-Wan protested. "Ma'am," Commander Teho said gently, "I don't think it matters what we intend. Just by existing, we've changed the balance of power in this part of the galaxy. Every alien government is asking the same question. Are the humans our friends or our enemies?" Dr. Hayri nodded sadly. "It's the same thing that happened when we made contact with the colony worlds. Even when we try to stay neutral, our presence changes everything." As if to prove the point, Captain Sun-Ho's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Admiral, we're detecting 3 alien fleets approaching our position. They're flying peaceful flags, but they're also heavily armed." Admiral Wu Jin's voice replied calmly. "Which governments?" "The Crystalline Collective, the Void Swimmer Alliance, and the Builder Consortium," Captain Sun-Ho reported. "All requesting immediate diplomatic talks." "They're scared," Veltar said quietly. "My people, all of our people, we're all terrified. For thousands of years, we've been the dominant powers in this region of space. Now suddenly we're like children playing with wooden sticks while giants walk among us." Ji-Wan looked around at the aliens with genuine sympathy. "We never wanted to frighten anyone. We just wanted to say hello." "I know," Keth replied sadly. 3 months later, the galaxy looked completely different. Veltar stood on the observation deck of the new Harmony station, watching human construction ships finish building the massive structure. What had started as an empty patch of space was now a city-sized station that served as neutral ground for all galactic civilizations. The Wee station was beautiful in a way that alien architecture had never achieved. Smooth curves and glowing surfaces that seemed to bend light itself, gardens that floated in transparent bubbles, connected by walkways that twisted through open space. And at the center, a massive crystal chamber where representatives from hundreds of worlds could meet safely. "It still doesn't seem real," Nixara said, floating up beside him. Her trading company had expanded faster in 3 months than it had in the previous century. Human cargo ships, each large enough to carry the entire output of an alien world, had revolutionized interstellar commerce. None of it seems real. Veltar agreed. He was now the official military liaison between the Crystalline Collective and humanity. It was a strange job since the concept of military threats had become almost meaningless. No alien civilization would ever again be able to threaten another one while humans watched from space. Keth drifted over to join them, his ancient body moving more smoothly than it had in centuries. Dr. Minsu's medical treatments had indeed reversed much of his aging, and the old philosopher felt better than he had in millennia. Admiral Wu Jin wanted me to tell you that the vote is finished, Keth announced. The Galactic Council has unanimously approved humanity's membership. It had been a formality, really. After 3 months of human presence in the galaxy, every alien government had realized the same thing. They needed humanity, much more than humanity needed them. The economic changes alone had been staggering. Human ships could cross the galaxy in weeks, carrying cargo loads that dwarfed anything aliens had imagined. Trade routes that had taken months now took days. Resources that had been rare and precious were suddenly abundant and cheap. But the real change was in how alien civilizations related to each other. Wars had simply stopped, not because of human threats or intervention, but because warfare had become pointless. When humans could rebuild a destroyed planet in months and resurrect entire populations, what was the point of fighting? Where is the Admiral now? Veltar asked. On Earth, Keth replied. Meeting with the Human Council about Phase 3 construction. Phase 3. The aliens had learned to be nervous about human phases. Phase 1 had been first contact and basic diplomacy. Phase 2 had been the construction of permanent infrastructure throughout local space. Phase 3 was apparently much more ambitious. What does Phase 3 involve? Nixara asked nervously. Galactic integration projects, Keth said. Connecting all inhabited systems with permanent transport networks. Establishing medical stations that can serve every known species. Building educational facilities to share knowledge between civilizations. And Veltar knew there was more. Keth's expression was both amused and terrified. And humanity wants to invite the entire galaxy to join them in exploring other galaxies. Through the station's massive windows, they could see construction beginning on humanity's first Galaxy-class ship. The New Horizon was taking shape in the shipyards, a vessel so large that it was visible from several star systems away. Captain Sunho's voice came over the station's communication system. All residents, please direct your attention to Docking Bay 7. The human freighter Abundance is arriving with supplies from the Andromeda Advance Team. The 3 aliens looked at each other in confusion. Andromeda Advance Team? Veltar asked. They made their way to the observation windows near Docking Bay 7. The ship that was arriving was typically massive by human standards, but what shocked them wasn't its size. It was where it had come from. They already have people in Andromeda? Nixara whispered. Captain Unji appeared beside them, smiling cheerfully. Oh yes, we sent a small expedition there about 6 months ago. Just a few thousand volunteers to start making contact with whatever civilizations exist there. They're reporting back that Andromeda has some very interesting species. How did they get there so fast? Keth asked. Even human ships shouldn't have been able to cross intergalactic space that quickly. New propulsion system, Captain Yunji explained. The engineers call it dimensional folding. Instead of traveling through space, the ships sort of step around it. Very efficient. She pulled out her tablet and showed them images from Andromeda, alien cities that looked nothing like anything in the Milky Way. Massive structures that stretched between stars, life forms that existed as pure energy. Are they friendly? Veltar asked. Mostly, Captain Yunji replied. There's one empire that's been causing trouble for some of the smaller civilizations, but our diplomatic team thinks they can negotiate a peaceful solution. And if they can't negotiate? Captain Yunji's smile didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Then the New Horizon will carry our first Omega-class battleship when it launches, just in case. The aliens decided they didn't want to know what an Omega-class battleship could do. Ambassador Jiwan arrived at the station later that day, bringing news from Earth that changed everything once again. She called a meeting in Harmony Station's main conference room, inviting representatives from every major alien civilization. Earth Command has made a decision, she announced to the assembled crowd. Humanity will be establishing permanent colonies in 17 different galaxies over the next 50 years. The room went silent. 17 galaxies. The numbers were so large they were hard to comprehend. Each colony will be self-sufficient and will maintain contact with local civilizations, Jiwan continued. We hope that many of you will consider joining these expeditions. There's room for everyone, and we believe diversity makes us stronger. General Klixvan, who now commanded Joint Human-Alien Security Forces, raised a crystal hand. What about the Milky Way? Are you abandoning this galaxy? Not at all, Jiwan assured him. The Milky Way will remain humanity's primary home. We're just expanding our horizons. She activated a holographic display that showed the known universe. Tiny lights marked human settlements spreading outward like seeds on the wind. Earth remained at the center, but the human presence was growing in every direction. Within a century, Jiwan said, humanity expects to have contact with civilizations in over 100 galaxies. We want to build a community that spans the entire universe. Dr. Hayri stood up from her seat. We've also been working on some projects that should interest you. We're developing technology that will allow faster-than-light communication across galactic distances. Eventually, someone on Earth will be able to have a real-time conversation with someone in Andromeda. And we're planning to build permanent gateways between galaxies, added Chief Engineer Dongwu. Travel time between any 2 points in the universe should eventually be measured in hours, not years. The aliens looked around the room at each other, seeing the same expression on every face. They were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented, a truly universal civilization. Months passed. The New Horizon launched on schedule, carrying 50 million humans and 10 million volunteer aliens toward Andromeda. Other Galaxy-class ships followed, heading in every direction across space. Veltar received regular reports from his government. The Crystalline Collective had officially disbanded its military, since there was no longer any conceivable threat that required a military response. Instead, they were focusing on scientific research and cultural development. Nixara's trading empire now spanned 3 galaxies, carried by human ships that could cross intergalactic space like ancient merchants had crossed oceans. Keith had become the galaxy's unofficial historian, documenting the changes that humanity brought to every world they touched. On his final day aboard Harmony Station, Veltar stood once again at the observation windows, watching human ships come and go. Some were arriving from distant galaxies with reports of new civilizations and peaceful first contacts. Others were departing on missions that would take them beyond the known universe entirely. Admiral Wu Jin found him there, looking out at the busy traffic of ships. Any regrets? The Admiral asked. Veltar considered the question carefully. My people ruled this part of space for 10,000 years, he said finally. We thought we were the pinnacle of civilization. Then you arrived and showed us that we were just children playing in a sandbox. He turned to look at the human admiral. But no, I don't have regrets. You've given us something we never had before. Hope for the future. Before humans came, we were all just waiting to slowly decline and fade away. Now we're part of something larger than any of us could have imagined. Admiral Wu Jin nodded. That's all we ever wanted. To find friends among the stars and explore the universe together. Through the windows, they could see Earth's newest project taking shape. A universal-class ship that would carry 1 billion people to explore the space between galactic clusters. Even by human standards, it was an ambitious undertaking. What do you think we'll find out there? Veltar asked. Admiral Wu Jin smiled. I hope we find civilizations that are even more advanced than we are. Wouldn't that be interesting? Veltar laughed, a sound like crystal bells ringing. The red light started flashing across every screen in the Nexus Prime Control Center. Alarm sounds filled the air like angry birds screaming. Nobody had ever heard these alarms before. They were the sounds that meant something impossible had happened. Commander Velkos of the Zentari Defense Force looked at his screens and felt his 3 hearts stop beating for a moment. The readings made no sense. Something had jumped directly into their space. Not near their space. Not at the edge of their territory. Right into the center of their most protected system. Sir, we have a contact, his young officer said. Her voice shook as she spoke. It's big. Really big. Velkos moved to the main display screen. What he saw there made him step backward. A ship hung in space where no ship should be. It was dark blue and silver, with strange curves that looked both beautiful and dangerous. The ship was easily 3 times bigger than their largest warships. Where did it come from? Velkos asked. Unknown, sir. It just appeared. Our sensors show it came from nowhere. That's not possible. Nothing can jump past our shields, but there it was. A ship that shouldn't exist. In a place where no ship could go. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the human ship called Defiant Dawn. He looked calm as he watched the alien space station through the main window. His crew worked at their stations, checking systems and watching for threats. So-Min, what do you see? He asked his tactical officer. So-Min looked at her screens. Numbers and lights flashed as the computer counted the weapons pointing at their ship. Captain, I count 3,047 weapons locked on us. More ships are moving toward us from all sides. Hyunwoo nodded. Good. That means they're taking us seriously. His engineer Jin-A spoke from her station. Captain, their shield technology is about 200 years behind ours. Their weapons are even older. Should I be worried? Not yet, Hyunwoo said. Let's see what they do first. The council chamber was the most important room in the galaxy. 12 different alien species had their leaders sitting around a huge round table. They made decisions that affected billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Today, they all looked scared. Ambassador Kael'thon from the Velakri Empire stared at the big screen showing the human ship. His blue skin had turned pale. How is this possible? Humans don't have this technology. They can't even leave their home system. Apparently we were wrong, said Council Chair Vormason. His voice was deep and rough like rocks falling down a mountain. The question is, what do we do about it? The other council members started talking all at once. Some wanted to attack the ship immediately. Others wanted to try talking first. All of them were afraid. Quiet, Vormason shouted. We need to think clearly. Thex Quinn, the council's military advisor, pulled up information on his personal screen. The ship's energy signature is unlike anything we've seen. Our computers can't identify the hull material. It appears to be using some kind of contained gravitational field for power. What does that mean in simple words? Asked Ambassador Kael'thon. It means they have technology we don't understand. Technology that shouldn't be possible. Back on the Defiant Dawn, Wu Jin was listening to the alien communications. His job was to gather information about their enemies. What he heard made him smile. Captain, they're panicking, he reported. Every species in their council is calling for their fleets. They're more scared than angry. That's good, Hyunwoo said. Fear makes people think more carefully than anger does. So-Min looked up from her station. Captain, 17 fleets are moving toward us. 2,000 ships total. They'll be here in 6 hours. Plenty of time, Hyunwoo said. He pressed a button on his chair. Jin-A, are our systems ready? All systems working perfectly, Captain. The gravity drive is at full power. Weapons are charged. Shields are at maximum strength. And our backup plan? Standing by and waiting for your order, sir. In the council chamber, the 12 leaders watched as their fleets moved across the star map. Red dots showed their ships racing toward Nexus Prime from every direction. It was the largest military response in their history. This should be enough, said General Zexkorth through the communication system. 1 ship against 2,000. Even if they have better technology, they can't fight us all. Vormason wasn't so sure. How did they get past our defenses? We have energy shields, automated weapons platforms, and patrol fleets. Nothing should be able to jump directly into our space. Thex Quinn pulled up more data. I've been studying their arrival. They didn't break through our defenses. They went around them somehow. Like they knew exactly where the weak spots were. That's impossible, Kael'thon said. Our defense plans are top secret. Only council members know the details. Then how did they do it? Vormason asked. Nobody had an answer. On the human ship, Captain Hyunwoo walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Stars filled the darkness around them. In the distance, he could see the alien space station where the council met. Taeho, how long until their fleets arrive? He asked his navigator. 5 hours and 37 minutes, Captain. Perfect timing. Hyunwoo turned to face his crew. Everyone remember why we're here. For 70 years, they've kept us locked in our home system. They told the galaxy that humans were too primitive to be trusted with space travel. They were wrong. Ginny smiled from her engineering station. Captain, should I show them how wrong they were? Not yet. Let them gather their fleets first. I want them all to see what we can really do. So-Min reported new contacts on her screen. Captain, more ships jumping in. I count 40 new vessels in the last 10 minutes. Good, Hyunwoo said. The more witnesses, the better. In the council chamber, the tension grew thicker with each passing hour. The council members watched their fleets gather around the human ship. Some felt confident that their superior numbers would win the day. Others weren't so sure. "We should try to communicate with them," suggested Ambassador Yeltarin from the Peaceful Collective. "Maybe they want to talk." "They invaded our most secure system," Vormason replied. "This is an act of war." "Or it's a message," Yeltarin said. "Maybe they're trying to tell us something." Kael'thon shook his head. "Humans are aggressive and violent. Everyone knows this. They probably came here to threaten us." "Then why haven't they attacked yet?" Yeltarin asked. "They've been sitting there for hours. If they wanted to start a war, wouldn't they have started shooting already?" The question made everyone think. The human ship had been in their space for 4 hours. It hadn't moved. It hadn't fired any weapons. It just waited. What are they waiting for? Vormason wondered out loud. Captain Hyunwoo could have answered that question. He was waiting for the right moment. The moment when all the alien fleets were in position. The moment when the entire galaxy would be watching. The moment when humanity would finally show the universe what they were really capable of. "Captain," Soman reported, "the last fleet has arrived. All enemy ships are now in position around us." Hyunwoo nodded. "Open a channel to the council chamber." "Channel open, sir," reported Minho from the communication station. "Council members," Hyunwoo said, his voice calm and clear. "This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Human Defense Force. I believe it's time we had a talk."